Monday because of this bad flu, and I wish that whenever you have a short week, it feels like makes the week feel even longer, even though it's shorter. What can you do? Say good morning to my very good friend, our managing editor of Korea Broadcasting Network News, and the host of St Maarten Insights, news that matters to you, my good buddy Emil Lee. Good morning.
Good morning, Sock. Good morning, listeners. Great to be here again.
Always nice to see you. Always nice to see you. And I'm not even where we start this week.
So again, we had Council of Ministers meeting yesterday.
What happened?
So the Ministry of Tiat and Justice was there,
Hmm.
and I will say I think that Minister Tackling is getting very comfortable in her role, and coming and answering questions. I think out of all of the ministers, she's the most regularly there, and by far she's been the most frequent person there. And the good thing is because she keeps the media up to date, um, the media's, I don't know, sort of kind to her, if you like.
Well,
It's a conversation versus, you know, sort of pushing for updates.
I think the more that you regularly, respond to questions, the relationship between
Of
the question
course.
askers and the answerers gets, a little more familiar, and because we get answers more regularly, there's probably less questions to ask,
Yes,
and
for
and
sure.
and that helps.
And I'll tell you, if I was the Minister of Education or Minister of Finance,
Mm.
every every week that passes that you don't come, I would become more and more apprehensive about coming. And to be quite candid, they should, because I have a whole list of questions. I have questions that I've put to the Minister of Finance since I think like March that I'm waiting
Of
for
last
answer
year.
of this year. But that's still, what is that? April, May, June, July, August, September, October. You're still
7 months.
7 months to answer basic questions about debts of the country, right? I would be scared to come, to be quite candid.
Yeah.
So,
It's too bad we can't hire like let's see, Ardwell is still in politics. He's in Parliament. Who was the Minister of Finance before
well, you have,
Ard?
I mean, like Perry Hearlings. He was Minister of Finance when I was there. Who was there before? I don't even remember.
What do you know? Do you know Perry?
Yeah, of course.
Give him a call.
And
Ask him if he'd come talk to us one morning.
okay, I'll ask Perry.
Yeah, I don't know him. I never met him. But I would love to chat with him because maybe he could give us some insights. And rewind to when you were there. If we asked you these questions, how would you have responded?
For sure.
And
And then if you look in the paper, the Minister of Finance comes out with a whole release about the nomination of the chairperson for the central bank. But you won't come to press conference to say that at press. So I find that really not in the interest of good governance and democracy.
well, one of the things that you have to remember is what makes democracy work is the free press. And when you because it's our job as the media to kind of keep you in line. You say
Of
you're going to
course.
do this, well, then it's our job to question you about it. And when something looks like it's different than what you said you were going to do, it's our job to kind of keep you in.
And I'll tell you, I'm getting more and more feedback, just anecdotally on the street, and people saying, "Hey, we listened to the radio show and to the press conferences, and it's really good. It's interesting." And I always remember, I think it was Fujimura was prime minister of what, Peru, I think it was,
Mhm.
right? And when they went into the whole collapse of the government and corruption and whatnot, they were looking at the bribes that the government was paying out to judges, to police, but what they found is, who got paid most was the media. So when they were bribing the media to, carry their stories in a particular way. So, indeed, it's
We don't do that.
it's very important to a country functioning well. And
Well, and I'll tell you this, people often ask, especially when we get to election time, um, if I have a standing customer here at Island 92 and they wish to use their airtime that they pay for on a regular basis um, for political purposes,
Hmm.
then as long as it's not immoral, unethical, or illegal, they can run whatever they choose to run in their airtime. No problems, no
You mean
questions
like
asked.
an ad,
Right?
like
Yeah.
an advertise? Okay,
But
yeah,
I don't accept political advertising. I just won't do it. Right? I
right.
don't want the. We did it one year, and it was just ridiculous. And so we made the decision all along. No political advertising. We just don't do it.
And just so that people understand how it works, the interviews that we do, like when ministers or MPs or whoever come in, there's no charge for them. And for most radio stations, that's the case all the time, except when elections come, all of a sudden these people, the media houses, charge for interviews, and I think that's so wrong.
Well, the thing that I find interesting is we get to the election cycle, and one of the questions I'll often get asked is, "What's the cost? What's the fee to come
Right.
in for the?" I'm like, "It's
And I give
very,
you credit.
it's very,
You've never charged.
it's very expensive. It's zero,
Right, right, right.
double zero."
But the questions are honest and hard.
Yeah,
And that's the thing actually that the public should understand is when you're selling that space to a politician who's campaigning, right? Your questions naturally become a little bit softer because all of a sudden you have a client relationship with them, right? You want them to buy more
airtime.
airtime, and so if you attack them,
Mhm.
they're not going to buy more airtime from you, right?
So here's my shameless plug, right?
Yeah,
So what makes this radio station, like all radio stations, stand there, except the one owned by the government, which I think is a whole, not that they don't do good work, but I think it's crazy that the government owns a radio station. That's just nuts to me, but whatever. Government controlled media is what we have in communist countries. Having said that, um, shameless plug. If you like what you hear and you like what you hear us saying, you're a business owner here on St. Maarten or in the region or in the U.S. and you have a brand that is sold internationally, you'd like to advertise with us, we can please,
support.
we could, I will make it worth your while. We will only do our very best to help promote your brand, but we could always use um, clients, right? Because it's what keeps the lights on, right?
Sure, makes sense.
Anyway,
Makes sense.
anyway, so what happened?
So yesterday, like I said, we had the Minister of Tiat and Minister of Justice in, and the Minister of Tiat updated about the marketplace. So you remember you have those vendors that are
Hmm.
there behind the courthouse, and there was a section.
It looks like it's starting to come along.
Nothing's happened,
Uh,
and so she's
I
the
see. I hadn't been in town in a long time, and I drove by it the other day, and I saw petitions.
barricades.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Oh,
was because they demolished the thing. I don't know how long ago,
I
but
assumed
there's
something was going on
no
the other side.
construction.
Oh God.
But they said that she number one, she said she's going to waive the vending fees for the people that have been displaced there. So all those vendors, if you notice, where the old government building was, there's
Right.
a tent
Right.
there, and they're all back there. But I mean, that's far. I don't
Yeah.
know if tourists are really going there. I don't know if like buses are dropping people off there, but that's for sure a challenge. And every time there's a storm, I see they take the tent down, the
Right.
cover. And
Right.
so and then that's a huge cover.
Right.
So it's not like they just take it down in an hour and throw it back up. So
Right.
it ends up down for days, and I feel for them because then they don't set up, and people don't really go there. So she says that finally the plans have been approved by, I think it was the one of the cruise lines who's their partner, and they are hoping to start any day. But to be candid, I have heard that a few times. So
And all I could say is brilliant in terms of timing. Here we are. Let's start construction in the middle of the capital, right at the start of high season.
yeah, and
Just why would you knock the old stuff down until you and before you had everything, the plan, everything ready to go? Say, okay, we're gonna knock it down, and then immediately start.
And you know what? I'll be really candid because I was there after Hurricane Irma. I really don't understand what was behind taking it down in the first place because I didn't find that Market Stall area was so badly damaged that it had to be taken down. There were maybe some things that needed to be repaired, but actually the structures are really solid. Like there's a couple of them. You know the Pink Hotel, Sea Palace on
Mm-hmm.
on Front Street.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple there that they moved and set up on the beach. So I mean, they were so solid they had to bring in excavators to take them down. So I always had the feeling that there was something sort of, let's say, sinister behind the whole demolition of the
Fishy.
marketplace. Fishy, yes, in the very beginning. So she talked about that the SARE is getting ready to issue an impact report on Soul Beach. If you remember, that was the music festival that happened in this year, 2025, and so they're making a report on the impact of Soul Beach, because I had looked online and saw that Soul Beach was scheduled for 2026, but I noticed the minister corrected me afterwards that it's actually not the Soul Beach website. So she said, so I asked her, is there an agreement in place? Are you funding? Is it going to happen? She said there's nothing in place as of yet. So, and again, that worries me a little bit in that if you're going to do it, the sooner you know you're going to do it, the more you can promote. Like Heineken Regatta, the day after Heineken
We
Regatta,
we start promoting the next year.
right? So, it impacts your time to ramp up, to advertise, to get artists to come in and things like that. So she's apparently going to Parliament to answer some questions about Soul Beach, and she hopes to have the report from the SARE by then. And she's said that she will make that report public, so that's a good thing. So
Well, that's fair.
that's fair, yes.
Mhm.
And then one of the other
This is Minister Heiliger, Grisha.
yes,
Grisha. Okay.
and then one of the
I like
other
Grisha. I find her. I ask her a question. She asks me. She gives an answer.
yeah,
May not like it, but you get an answer. So I can't. And I find her accessible. When you have a
agreed.
question, you ask it. She
I agree.
responds.
I agree.
Kudos, Minister Heiliger.
Bibi from SMN News asked her about the call for her resignation as a minister. I think that was brought up by MP Cruz, and there's been some discussion related to the fact that there's a civil judgment against her husband, Theo Heiliger, who's currently serving time in prison. There's a civil decision that he has to pay $92 million, I think, to one of the developers who lost the opportunity to develop there. And so she responded to that, and in
Her response was,
that she has no intention of resigning, that her husband's going to appeal the case,
Mhm.
and also that it's a civil matter. It's the criminal discussions, as far as I understand. I don't know if there's anything else pending,
but those are done.
but I understood that the criminal things have been settled, and that's why Theo's in prison now, serving the time that he was sentenced to and agreed upon with the prosecutor. So, and the fact is, this is historic discussion.
Mhm.
If this was something ongoing, that, let's say, the minister, like if there was an ongoing dispute at the harbor about who was going to actually have control of developing the land, which company, what the project is, then I would say, okay, indeed, there's a conflict of interest. But this is all historic, and as far as I understood, doesn't impact any current plans or future plans. So I'm not quite sure I see the real justification for a call for a resignation, to be honest.
So
in my opinion.
so can I hate to I hate to talk tales out of school, but I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And it would seem to me that there's some other reason that MP LaCruz has called for her resignation, and I would love to know what that reason is.
So it wasn't explicitly stated in press yesterday, but that was the implication that the minister is in the process of getting a report about the number of, I think, bus and taxi licenses that were issued previously
Before her,
of which the as they say here, the school children say that La Cruz was involved in issuing so many of these permits in exchange for political support. So she says she's in the process of getting a report, and that's going to show. It's going to be a revealing document. Is the implication that I
Well,
hear?
certainly that could be one of the other reasons. I think
Right.
it's also widely known that the MP in this instance um, is a part of the District 721 organization next door,
And there's a beef there
and
because the
right,
inspectors went and
and they have and they're licensed, and also as part of their beach club over on Simpson Bay Beach. I don't really want to say the name,
mm-hmm,
but near Mary Spoon and over by Kay. And if that there have been issues there
mm-hmm,
with sound here, and then of course interestingly enough, there was also a fire next door at K,
mm-hmm.
which makes one kind of wonder, um, but one would have to, if in fact he is a a partner or involved with those organizations, um, that and the the minister is, you know, uh, scrutinizing their licenses and their ability to offer live entertainment because of the noise complaints that have come up in both areas,
Mm-hmm.
then it would certainly, you know, add even more credence as to why he perhaps was calling for her resignation. That's just what common sense would tell you when you look at all of the moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, would love to invite the MP in to tell us why he called for her resignation, because at the end of the day, um, Minister Heiliger, in my mind, um, has been trying to do the right thing and balance the economic interests of the country, and the business interests of the country, along with the ability of people to be able to sleep in their own beds at night.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because
uh,
of excessive noise.
right,
So, yeah.
yeah. So I have to say kudos to the minister, because I think what I've observed is somebody juggling a very challenging issue, with giving the accused, if you will, in this case, of the cause of the sound pollution, the noise pollution, um, numerous opportunities to do the right thing with without success on the part of the accused before she took some pretty serious actions. Um, and if that's all the case, right, which we've all lived it, the noise piece of it, we've all lived it and heard it, and the noise here gets so loud that I can't use my studio in the evening if I wanted to, and I'm supposed to be able to broadcast 24/7 in
Mm-hmm.
the event of an emergency. So that's my objection, right? And forget about the vibrations and everything else; it's not good for all the equipment. Um, would have to make you wonder what's the real reason that the MP has called for her resignation.
And
You tell
historically,
me, am I wrong? You think I'm wrong or
no,
no?
that's a possible motivation for sure. And sadly, historically, opposition s- seems to very often think that their job is to take down the current government, right? Rather than holding them accountable, sort of forcing them to do the right thing, if you like. It's always about sort of looking for that chink in the armor to just take the whole thing down. And
That's really
I
not the
think
job of the opposition.
I think that's an immature and an incorrect understanding of what their role is. So
Their role is to bring up a different perspective,
yes,
and be able to successfully debate and get that perspective included into the governing programs and projects and things that are
exactly.
going to be executed. That because together, right, in democracy, when you have all the ideas on one side and then you add the ideas on the other side and you put them together and come up with something in the middle, you end up with a superior product.
Right.
That's what this is about,
That's indeed the idea, is that by debating a topic that you come with a better outcome.
without a doubt.
So another question that I brought up to the minister. I don't know if you noticed recently, the Chamber of Commerce announced that they put their picture with the entire board that went to Puerto Rico to attend the FCCA conference. That's
And we're strapped for cash.
right. This is the Cruise Association's annual meeting. It's a a big meeting for the cruise industry and for their partners. And so, and just for background for people to understand, the Chamber of Commerce, as I understand it, their primary role is to serve as the registry for businesses, right? So you, any business,
By
even
law.
sole proprietors,
By
exactly,
law.
they have to register at the Chamber of Commerce,
Foundations, associations, etc. All
etc.
have to register.
That's where, if you want to understand who's the managing director, what's the ownership structure of any company, you can go to the Chamber of Commerce and request that information, right? And by the way, as a business, if I remember, you need to be Dutch to be able to vote for who are the representatives in the
Correct.
chamber. So to
Correct.
say
And you all pay we all pay a fee every year by law.
mandatory fee, correct. And so it's interesting because not with this current Chamber of Commerce, but in the past there's been discussions where the chamber has said, no, we represent the business community. And the feedback from associations like SHD has been, no, I don't have a choice as a business whether I'm a member. So to say that because I'm a member of the chamber, which is again by law, that you represent my interest is
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
So my question actually to the Minister of TIAT was, did you invite the Chamber of Commerce to come to the FCCA conference? And the answer was no, we didn't invite them. And then she mentioned, I did meet with them, though, while I was there. And so I said, okay, please clarify for me. That means that when you were in meetings with cruise line executives and negotiating or discussing the performance of cruise industry in St. Maarten, they were included. So, no, those meetings were the harbor and Ministry of TIAT with the cruise industry. She said, I did have a meeting, though, with them. I said, okay, but a meeting that could have easily been held in St. Maarten? And the answer is yes. So then it makes me, kind of crazy.
Yeah, it makes me furious. Is our tax dollars? Let's just
not tax dollars, our contributions, our obligatory dues payments are used for the entire board to go on a sort of fact-finding, quote-unquote, vacation to Puerto Rico, is the way that I see it. If you really wanted to know about the cruise industry, you could have easily had meetings here and with the harbor and yes.
Yeah, I can't disagree. It is 8:48. We'll be right back. More with Emil Lee, St. Maarten Insights, news that matters to you. Stick around. 8:52, 8 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock, right here in the Northeast Caribbean. My name is Dr. Sock. Another quick segment with my good buddy Emil Lee, St Maarten Insights, news that matters to you. So, what else happened?
Well, so I'm going to touch on justice.
Mm-hmm,
There was, I think, probably two things that are worth mentioning.
mm-hmm,
There's a letter. So the business community, I think primarily, businesses in Phillipsburg,
mm-hmm.
had a meeting with Justice about
The Ministry of Justice, yeah.
with the Ministry of Justice about the escalation of crime and the fact that so many of their stores are being targeted and robbed in an aggressive manner, right? Armed robbery,
Mm.
and it's obviously traumatized owners and staff, etc. So they apparently had a meeting, and
All primarily low season, yes?
yes,
Yeah.
so far. But anyways, obviously concerning. So apparently, as one of the outcomes of the meeting, a letter was sent to the business community, which is then circulated a bit, and the letter indicated items up to, I think, $500,000 where the business community could finance and help support measures that would improve security in the, I guess, the Phillipsburg area, but in general
So we
for
want
the
the
island.
so we want the Phillipsburg business owners to kick in for extra security that our tax dollars are already paying for.
So, and that's exactly the question was, there's some in the community that are saying, but we pay taxes. Why do we have to
Pay more.
pay more? And so the minister commented and corrected, and I think her comment was fair. She said, "Look, we had a meeting, and there were people within the meeting that said, look, what can we do to help? We want to help to make things better." And so the minister said, okay, if you want to help, let me do this in a structural way. I will make a sort of a wish list of things that the ministry or police force would like to do, but don't have the funds to do, and gave it to them. So it was a from her perspective, from the minister's perspective, it was a structured response to what can I do to help, which is
Mm-hmm.
very different than saying, hey,
True.
I need money. Here's a request. If you want to be safe, this is what I need. She said, that's not what the letter was about. The letter was, you have issues. You want to see an improvement. You've offered to help. I'm trying to structure it so that, it's not just sort of a random approach. This is a structured approach to improving security. So I think that was a fair comment.
I it certainly I how do I say this? I don't necessarily disagree with the question was asked and a response was given. I get it.
Exactly.
What I have a problem with, what sits poorly with me, is that this is something that government that our police force should just be handling. It's something we should have the funds to do this, and I find it just just imagine when you were growing up as a kid in Connecticut, if there was a problem and the head of the police department came to you and said, by the way, we know we're having an issue in town, and sorry, the only we just don't have the money to deal with it, and so if y'all want to kick in some money, right? Maybe we could. Just sorry, it's wrong.
I certainly agree that there's core functions that you expect from government:
Yeah, safety,
safety,
fire,
education,
trash.
infrastructure, right? There's certain core things that you expect from government. That's why governments actually exist, right?
Mhm.
And if the effectiveness and quality of those services are dependent on charitable donations, that's not sustainable.
No.
So I totally agree.
Yeah.
So I do think, and this is why I say there's certain ministers, like our minister of finance, perhaps, that should be, concerned about coming into press conference, because my question is, and I'll tell them, so you can prepare yourself, right? why do you need to go to Par Latino conferences, which hasn't, in my mind, been able to demonstrate any real value back to the country? For shorter trips, I understand for longer trips that ministers, for example, would fly business class because they're short trips and they need to work and they need to perform. But
You're going to be on a plane more than 6 hours. You should be in. I have
exactly,
no
that would be sort of a corporate policy, that you would expect for any large company that says if you're traveling for business and you're traveling over 6 hours or so, that you're entitled to fly economy, comfort, or business class, for example, right? So, but for example, trips that are here 3 hours, 4 hours to New York, right? They went to the UN, they went to Washington for discussions with World Bank, a whole delegation, 3 ministers. You can't tell me that you couldn't survive in an economy class seat for 3 to 4 hours if doing that meant you could now fund some of these things that would improve security for the people of the country.
So the thing that's really interesting, I'm willing. I don't know what airline they flew to New York, but I'm willing to bet that of all of the airlines that are flying to New York, the one with the nonstop, right, the nonstop flight on a regular basis every day
is JetBlue.
Is JetBlue.
Right.
It doesn't have first class, right?
Right. Well, it has Mint.
Yeah, but that's only one flight on a Saturday.
Oh, really? It's not all. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So on JetBlue, your option is extra legroom, right? Extra legroom, more space, which is less than $100, right? And I have personally flown that flight probably a dozen times in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
It is completely comfortable. There's nothing, there's no, and I'm a guy that I'll just buy a first class ticket or a business class seat when the opportunity is there, if it exists, right? So, but I don't at all cringe on flying JetBlue, extra space or whatever, even more leg room, I think they call it. So, why are we just not being smart?
And I have said it multiple times, actually. If I was government and you're on a cash crunch, personally, I think they should confiscate all the air miles from all the tickets they pay so that they can accrue them as government and use them to pay for future travel.
Listen, you can set up programs with the airlines where the
employee you
both get, right?
Exactly. And I've said that. And I'm like, this is not rocket science. Not at all.
Emil, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks.
And I look forward to having you in. So next Thursday, I am traveling, so we're going to skip next week, and then next week we're back in the saddle, and we're working on. So that's the 20th of November. We're working on a few possible guests for that. We'll keep that on wraps for now.
Yes.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Enjoy it always.
And we'll talk soon. It is just 9 a.m. right here in the Northeast Caribbean. More fresh air in the morning is on the way right after these messages. Your marine tropical weather update brought to you by K Beach Club and Restaurant is next.